Yeah. Welcome to Lessons from High School Dropout. This is your principal dropout coming to you live in my studio on my iPhone. Computer issues, but guess what? Sometimes you just have to draw back and punt, right? That's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is going to come from the late, great Red Skelton. Here you go, folks.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer, I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word? I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance. Under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Folks, that's the late great. Oh boy. Red Skelton. What a memory. You know, it just came to me earlier today what I was going to talk about. And, you know, today's topic is going to be celebrating the learners. Celebrating the lives of the learners. And I want to tell everybody, you look your finest today. I'm so glad you showed up looking so fine. I dressed up for the occasion as well. I'm very excited about being here with you today. And we're going to dedicate this lesson today to a wonderful learner. A learner who we lost here on Sunday. A learner named Cameron Harel Cook. Cameron was 22 years old. I've known Cameron for 11 years. He was our son Luke's dear friend for 11 years. And he was taken from us in a tragic accident that he was not the cause of. He was struck and killed by a car in a hit and run here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But we're not going to be sad as I'm sad right now. We're going to celebrate. Because this young man, who was quite the learner, did something very special in his life. He touched the lives of so many people with his gift of humor. And this young man had a gift at knowledge, whereby I had this feeling as I watched him move to become a senior in high school and see that I didn't think this young man was going to be college material. And I'll tell you why. Some learners who are very gifted at learning and making good or exceptional grades are attuned to a level where they self-start on their learning even after school, which I believe is when true learning begins. And about 3 months ago, Cameron came over to our house, and again, he was referring to me as Mr. Fitch as he was greeting me. You see, Cameron was a very polite young man. Of all these young men who came into our lives as our sons were growing up, he was special, respectful, and he'll be missed. But for you learners out there, I want to encourage you to remember that learning in school is only a prelude to what's going to take place in your life. Cameron came over about 3 or 4 months ago and picked up a book that I don't have on my desk and don't have it readily available to share with you, but it's a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which I think is a phenomenal book, and I highly recommend that book to each learner listening to this podcast on YouTube or on Spotify, wherever you're looking at, whatever platform you're on, because it's a book that touched my life in a way, because I actually, very much like Robert Kiyosaki, had two dads, a rich dad and a poor dad, and we'll stop from there. But he came into my office here and said to me, Mr. Fitch, I want to let you know that I picked up a book from Luke's room here, and I read it. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I really loved it. I brought it back. I just want to let you know that. And I said, hey, that's great, Cameron. I'm very proud of you. That's an excellent book. I think you should read often. He says, oh, I love reading. He goes, matter of fact, I took that book out of Luke's room called Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich, which I always have a copy here. And I often give these away. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He borrowed that book, and I said, by the way, Cameron, I says, I'd like to make sure Luke reads that book, but I want you to keep that copy because I like to give those books away. Think and Grow Rich is probably one of the most powerful books that every student, every learner should read. And I believe it's a book that helps spark us discovering our gift inside, which we talk about here on Lessons from High School Dropout. But today I wanted to talk about how we practice learning during our years of school and post our education, our higher learning that we strive to achieve. Because I said it is a prelude. My prelude began at 18 years of age. My mother mailed me a couple of books, and I took the opportunity to read them. And it inspired me to realize that there were books that I actually could enjoy and connect with. And I don't believe that was happen chance, because I don't believe in happen chance. I believe that there was a connection that was needed to be met for me to really learn that I could read a book, I could absorb it, I could take it in. And I know there's a lot of challenged learners like myself who might be dyslexic or have an attention issue to reading and comprehending. I get that. And that's why I do Lessons from a High School Dropout, to connect with people on all different levels. Because today, I can read very well, comprehend very well, and quite frankly, I have a photographic memory. I can remember where things are in parts of books and dive in and find it pretty quick most of the time. And I think this comes from practice. It comes from really looking into yourself and saying, how did I do so well on that? I'll give you an example that just came to my mind, because most of everything I'm saying today just is off the cuff, right off the cuff. When I was in flight school, I was about 23 at this time. I was in flight school, and my instructor was 24, and he flew a Falcon 24 for Ewing Kaufman, who was owner of the Kansas City Royals. And one afternoon, I was scheduled to go fly with him, and he said, "Hey, I wanted to ask you, would it be all right if my girlfriend took you up today and was your instructor?" And I said, "Sure," right? And so, I wanted to fly. I didn't care. But I was a little bit, still in that mindset of, a girl teaching me. She was like 23, she's like my age, maybe a year older, I don't know. And it turned out to be one of my best lessons that I had ever had. And she taught me something. She says, those last 2 landings you just did? And I said, yeah. She goes, they were really good. And I sat me up in that cockpit a little bit higher. I started really believing that, I was really getting better. She said, I want you to go home this evening, and I want you to picture in your mind just exactly what happened and how you did that, and everything that you just encountered on both those. Just remember them and practice it through your mind. And I did that. And I began to grasp these landings very quickly after that. And I wanted to fly with her a little more often. And I was excited to do so. But it's the playing back in our minds that's very important, to remind us and give us our own confidence. Because I'm going to tell you right now, not a lot of people are going to be like Lisa. Very few people, and even sometimes teachers, are going to have the ability to take the time, because they're busy, to share, instruct, and maybe even sometimes your parents, because they're not trained at teaching. But an instructor in a classroom is trained. But sometimes being able to step back and say, hey, individually, I want you to go through these steps again, and I want to go through it here with you, or something like that. Take this time. Take this time to play back. As learners, sometimes we have to learn how we learn. And that's not necessarily easy to do, but that's why we're here at Lessons from a High School Dropout, is to encourage and to share examples and to let you know that you can do it. Because after all, if this 17-year-old high school dropout can pick up a book to read today and sometimes memorize lines after lines, I know you too can do it, because I struggled. I never read a book in school. But I know there's a lot of you out there who are reading real well, doing real well. And I want to encourage you, learners, to reach back and pull a guy like me in your classroom, in a virtual setting, and say, hey, I think you can do this. And if you need some help, let's reach out, right? That's what it's all about, folks. As Garrison Keith from Prairie Home Companion on NPR for probably 20, 30 years, I started listening to him in my 30s, and I thought, boy, am I getting old on a Saturday night listening to Garrison Keith. He said, we all are on the same bus. And you know, this bus that we're riding on is going to take us down roads that most people never travel on. And we're going to learn things that most people never learn. We're going to learn some new things. But I want to stop for one moment and let you think about what you think you need to review that you've been learning today while you were in class, virtually, or inside a classroom at school if you were blessed with being able to go. And I want you to take the initiative after you watch this, whether it's this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow. I want you to take the opportunity to really practice something you feel you need to practice on in your mind. And I want you to read it, write it down, whatever it is, and then I want you to kind of meditate and review this in your mind, what you just processed through as you learn. I believe this will help. It helped me. And I wasn't the best learner, but I know you are. I know you are. So listen, I congratulate you for your first few steps in this 2020 year of school. It's going to be an exciting one. It may be challenging, but we're here to get people over the challenges of life. And right now I want to say thank you to Cameron Cook for reminding me how powerful this book is and how it touched his life. It's one of those moments that you just go, it's going to be real. It's not going to be cut. Because we all have ups and downs. But thank you for tuning in to Lessons from High School Dropout. I appreciate every minute I have with you. Until next time, God bless. Ciao for now.